This is Wilbur. Wilbur is the Asiatic water buffalo that passed away. He was outside well into December, and this animal should have been brought in. He had no shelter outside, by the way, either. And then his carcass was left outside in the pen for months with 4 other deer who had to sort of eat around him. I worked at Papanack for about 1.5 years ago, and just became aware of some really horrible conditions that go on there.
Papanack Zoo is currently boarded up for the winter, but in the summer months it overflows with visitors. From all over the Ottawa region, parents bring their children to see Keith Forgie's collection of exotic animals. But some of his former employees say that what goes on beyond the public view amounts to neglect. Now, Katie Hierlihy is leading an internet campaign to shut the zoo down and improve animal welfare across Ontario.
If I'm going to be honest, my first summer there, I thought I'd landed on a gold mine. I thought this was going to be the greatest job I'd ever had. Because I mean, I got to pet tigers, I got to play with monkeys, I got to, do a lot of really cool stuff. And then I stayed on for the winter, and that's when we really noticed that things were bad, because when the public's not around to see, obviously, what's going on, then they sort of get away with more.
Hierlihy recounted countless stories of mistreatment. She said Forgie and his staff have no formal training.
There was a wolf called Luna who was not on display. She somehow received an injury to her back. We don't know how she got it, but she cut herself somewhere in her cage. It then developed a pretty severe infection, which spread across her whole back. The skin on her back sloughed off, and the wound was actually covered in maggots. And the way this was dealt with was to put iodine in a super soaker and try to spray the wound with it. That was how it was dealt with.
Hierlihy also told us the animals were kept in cramped, dirty enclosures, causing them to pace endlessly back and forth in distress. But Papanack is not unique. There are over 60 private zoos in Ontario, and none of them are required to have a license.
Ontario needs to strengthen their laws in these there need to be stiffer penalties. There needs to be more transparency with the OSPCA. Were our big issues. The other big one is that zoos should require a license. Currently, you don't need a license to open a zoo. Go and get yourself some exotic animals, put a sign up, and you've got a zoo.
Hierlihy and co-worker Kent Allen quit in October 2011. It wasn't until a year later, when they heard a story about Papanack on the news, that they went public about the mistreatment of animals at the zoo.
When he went out and was getting publicity, I saw it on the news, Keith Forgie saves baby zebra. And everybody was acting like he was this big hero for having done whatever for this zebra. And I lost it. I was like, this is not true. He's not some hero. If people could see what goes on behind the scenes there, then maybe they'd get a better idea of what this is really like. So that's when we decided to go public.
Since then, Hierlihy and Allen have promoted their Facebook site to close Papanack Zoo and now have over 1,800 supporters from around the world. In February, the cause made it to the front page of the social news site Reddit, where photos have over 100,000 views. Many of their supporters have criticised the OSPCA for not stepping in. But OSPCA senior investigator Larry Wilkinson says his organisation has limited resources and needs a specific complaint before they can investigate.
We are a complaint-driven organization, so unless we receive a specific complaint, we don't have the manpower, as it were, to be proactive. So in the case of the Papanack Zoo, there was a lot of internet chatter back and forth between various groups, and there was not a specific complaint directed towards us.
Wilkinson says the organisation has been to Papanack several times and said the owner, Keith Forgie, has always been cooperative and no charges have been laid to date. Our team decided to go to Papanack to see for ourselves. Before we even got our equipment out of the car, 2 workers arrived to see what we were up to. They threatened to call the police if we stood on their property, so we shot our footage from the roadside. We caught up with Forgie as he arrived at the zoo.
No comments, there's lawyers involved, I can't say anything.
Sure, alright man.
Just, I will say this, the SPCA was here yesterday and found absolutely nothing. They asked that we do add a little to the shelter. Besides that, the rest, they found nothing.
Okay.
And it wasn't local SPCA.
Okay.
We later asked
Thank you,
around
sir.
in town about the ongoing controversy. Restaurant owner Etienne Payet told us Forgie is a regular customer of his, but he didn't know anything about the allegations.
Are the allegations true? I don't know. I believe not, just because of who Keith is. He's a good guy, and he does what he does with the zoo.
But Hierlihy disagrees.
Yeah, he does what he thinks is right, I guess. In a lot of instances, I'm going to say he does what he knows is not right.
Wilkinson says he actually agrees that the OSPCA needs more enforcement capacity and the ability to license zoos. But he cautions that any new laws should be thought through and properly funded. His organisation has limited resources and it can't be expected to do more with less. Hierlihy says her campaign is trying to lobby for stricter regulation of private zoos in Ontario. Madeleine Meilleur, the Public Safety Minister in Ontario, did not respond to our numerous requests for an interview on this topic. Corey Keeley took her daughter Rebecca to Papanack a couple of years ago. Asked if the allegations would prove to be true, she said she would rethink before returning with her children.
This isn't good. But at this, yeah, I don't know. There's probably more than just these pictures to the story, though. You never want to ever hear about any sort of animal abuse, or you don't want to hear about animals out of their habitat that aren't doing well. But if it came out that, yeah, there was abuse of the animals, or they were under duress in the winter, then you'd think twice about going for sure.
Hierlihy says the most effective action people can take is to boycott the zoo.
Don't go. If you do see cases of neglect, if you do want to go with your eyes open and really have a look at the conditions. They're not going to do this kind of stuff right in front of public view. It happens where nobody sees. So that's why we went public with it, to let people know that when you're not looking, this is what's going on. This is what you're supporting by going there in the summer. So every time you walk through the gate and you pay your $20, this is what you're supporting.
For 25th Hour, I'm Marc Ellison.